Good morning, everyone. We are about to begin the signing ceremony for the exchange of notes and the loan agreement relating to Japan's concessional donor loan with regard to ADF 15th replenishment. Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group, specifically for this purpose for the African Development Fund. His Excellency Kuramitsu Hideaki, Ambassador of Japan to the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire. Mr. Mimura Atushi, Deputy Director General of the International Bureau, Ministry of Finance of Japan. Dr. Kitaoka Senichi, President of Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. Mr. Fujino Kojiro, Chief Representative of JICA in Cote d'Ivoire. Mr. Yano Takuji, Executive Director for Japan African Development Bank Group. Ms. Swazi Shabalala, Acting Vice President, Senior Vice President, and Vice President for Finance and Chief Financial Officer of the Bank Group.
Good morning.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vincent Mehele, Secretary General of the African Development Bank Group. It gives me immense pleasure and honor to welcome you all to this important ceremony. We have gathered here today, albeit virtually, to witness the signing of the exchange of notes and the loan agreement relating to Japan's loan for the African Development Fund's 15th replenishment. This occasion signifies the good relations that exist between Japan and the Bank Group, particularly the African Development Fund, for the promotion of Africa's socioeconomic development. To begin this auspicious occasion, please permit me to introduce the program for the signing ceremony as follows. We will start with the signing of the exchange of notes, which would be done by the Ambassador, His Excellency the Ambassador, on behalf of Japan, and the President of the African Development Bank Group on behalf of the fund. The signing of the exchange note will be followed by the signing of the loan agreement by Mr. Fujino, Chief Representative of JICA on behalf of Japan, and by the Senior Vice President on behalf of the fund, of the African Development Fund. Thereafter, we will take brief remarks in the following order. Remarks by the Ambassador of Japan to Cote d'Ivoire, remarks by the President of JICA, remark by the Deputy Director General of the International Bureau, Ministry of Finance of Japan, and we'll close out the remarks with remarks from the President of the African Development Bank Group. And then after that, we'll have a virtual photo session. And the photo session, of course, will be in two phases. The first phase will be with the principals signatories. The 4 signatories will have a picture, and later on, everyone who is a panelist will join the 4 signatories for the second picture. But in between, during the signing ceremonies, please, pictures will be taken of the signing itself so that we'll be able to show the agreement after and the notes after the signature. So at this juncture, I have the honor to invite His Excellency the Ambassador of Japan to Cote d'Ivoire and the President of the African Development Bank Group to sign the notes. May I request the photographers to take pictures of the signing and screenshots of the signing. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Excellency Ambassador. Could you please display the agreements, the notes signed so that pictures will be taken? Thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you, Ambassador. I now have the honor to invite the Chief Representative of JICA, Cote d'Ivoire office, and the Acting Senior Vice President of the bank group to please sign the loan agreement. Thank you very much. I will advise you to please show the agreements for photograph. Thank you very much. Now we have come to brief remarks. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure to invite His Excellency, the Ambassador of Japan to the Republic of Cote d'Ivoire to deliver his remarks. Ambassador, over to you.
Dr. Kiyomi Adesina, President of the African Development Fund. Dr. Kitaoka Shinichi, President of the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. Mr. Miura Atsushi, Deputy Director General of the International Bureau, Ministry of Finance, Japan. Mr. Fujino Kojiro, Chief Representative of JICA Cote d'Ivoire Office. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to be able to participate in the signing ceremony of the exchange of notes, even though in online format, related to loan for the African Development Fund, 15th Replenishment, with Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Fund. At TICAD 7 that took place in August 2019, Japan expressed its intention that it would take necessary actions to train industrial human resources, promote innovation and investment, and invest in quality infrastructure to enhance connectivity under three pillars, namely economy, society, and peace and stability. It was announced at the same occasion that Japan will make contribution in partnership with AFDB and the joint initiative of EPSA, Enhanced Private Sector Assistance for Africa Phase 4. This loan amounts to 73 billion yen with such concessional condition as 0.11% of annual interest and 40 years of reimbursement period, including 10 years grace period. It will be used for the capital source of AFDF to joint loans to sovereign co-financing under EPSA. I sincerely hope that this loan in yen will allow the AFDF to execute concessional financing and grant for the African countries facing emerging challenges caused by COVID-19 and contribute to economic and social development of these countries. Lastly, I would like to take this opportunity to express my sincere congratulations about President Adesina's re-election for his new mandate last year. I firmly believe that President Adesina will continue to demonstrate his leadership for promoting activities of the African Development Bank and also to make contribution for the fruitful cooperation with Japan. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency Ambassador, for your remarks. May I call upon Dr. Kitaoka Senichi, President of JICA, to make his brief remarks.
Good morning, Honorable Dr. Adesina, with a beautiful bow tie as always. His Excellency Mr. Kuramitsu, and our friend Fujino-san here. Then Mr. Mimura, good evening. Then, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure and honor to be virtually attending the signing ceremony of the ADF 15 Japanese ODA loan between the African Development Fund and JICA. The COVID-19 crisis has accelerated global structural changes. Africa is still in the midst of this crisis, facing serious challenges from coronavirus variants and the cold storage requirements for vaccines. Only a united Africa can defeat this threat to humanity. We should not allow this virus to jeopardize the steady progress of freedom, independence, and democracy in African countries that African countries have made so far. Africa is rapidly becoming a stronger presence in the world. By 2030, 1 in 5 of the world's population will be living in the continent, and by 2050, 1 in 4. In recognizing such an importance, JICA is committed to enhancing its partnerships with African countries to promote inclusive and sustainable development on the continent. The African Development Bank Group and JICA have long been partners in offering technical and financial cooperation to Africa. Just to name a few of our recent co-financing efforts for the COVID-19 response, last December, JICA signed an ODA loan agreement with the government of the Kingdom of Morocco to provide up to $200 million US. Additionally, JICA is now finalizing a discussion with the government of Mauritius concerning an ODA loan program. I firmly believe that today's contribution to ADA 15 will further boost our cooperation with African countries and strengthen our partnership with the African Development Bank Group. TICAD 8, the 8th Tokyo International Conference on African Development, will be held in Tunisia in 2022. I'd like to conclude by expressing my sincere hope that through global cooperation, we'll be able to overcome COVID-19 by that time. I am confident that we will be able to jointly address the world with a forward-looking vision that ensures the inclusive and sustainable development of Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kitaoka, for your remarks. May I call upon Mr. Mimura Atushi, the Deputy Director General of the International Bureau of the Ministry of Finance of Japan, for his remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Dr. Adesina, President of the African Development Bank Group, His Excellency Mr. Kuramitsu, and Ambassador of Japan to Cote d'Ivoire, Dr. Kitaoka, President of JICA, and Mr. Fujino, Chief Representative of JICA to Cote d'Ivoire. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Ministry of Finance and also on my own behalf, let me first of all congratulate this signing of the JICA loan to AFDF 15 replenishment of around Japanese yen 73.6 billion. Let me join others in expressing my gratitude to all of those people who made today's event possible. The yen loan we are providing today has two distinct features compared to the yen loan provided for the last FDF replenishment. First, its interest rate has been lowered, and secondly, its maturity has been doubled from 20 to 40 years. And let me also underscore that Japan's grant contribution to FDF 15 has also been increased by 17% this time. And clearly, today's yen loan is really will set a strong basis for further collaboration between African Development Bank Group and Japanese government under the renewed term of Mr. Adesina, the president of the bank group. And I thank the president for your excellent leadership in this success of FDF replenishment. Taking this opportunity, let me also express my sincere gratitude to Madam Shabalala, VP Finance and Acting Senior VP, Madam Sele, Treasury of the Bank Group, as well as Monsieur Venkatachalam, Director, Resource Mobilization and Partnerships, and of course, all other bank group staff who diligently worked for the successful replenishment of this FDF 15. Also, let me underscore the strong support that we received from Mr. Yokoyama, who was working as the head of African Development Bank's Tokyo office in previous years, and now working at JICA as the senior vice president. And last but not least, let me also allow to add a few words of thanks to my colleague and incumbent head of Tokyo office, Mr. Hanajiri, because he actually has spent lots of days and nights to liaise between Abidjan and Tokyo in this very difficult situation of the pandemic. And he really made hard efforts to facilitate a coordination among a number of agencies here in Tokyo. Ladies and gentlemen, Africa is, of course, a very important partner for Japan. And in our partnership with Africa, the African Development Bank really plays a key role because FDB is based in Africa and it is led by a president who is an African. And so it really knows the situation on challenges of the African continent. And with this in mind, Japan really expects the African Development Bank to continue strengthening its institutional capacity so that it can continue to take a leading role in advancing the development agenda in Africa. And in this regard, we do hope continued focus on quality infrastructure and debt sustainability will be pursued under the leadership of President Adesina. The African Development Fund is a key source of financing for Africa's low-income countries heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Going forward, we would really like to see a partnership between JICA and between Japan, JICA, and the African Development Bank Group to be further strengthened, leveraging in particular on the EPSA initiative that comes along with JICA's co-financing program, ACFA, and also grant resources provided to Germany's trust funds. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup à vous tous.
Thank you very much. May I now invite the president of the African Development Bank Group to deliver his remarks. Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary General. Your Excellency, Hideaki Kuramitsu, the Ambassador of Japan to Cote d'Ivoire. Your Excellency, Shirishi Kitaoka, President of Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, my dear friend. Mr. Fujino Kojiro, the Chief Representative of JICA in Cote d'Ivoire. Mr. Atsushi Mimura, Deputy Director General of the International Bureau, Ministry of Finance of Japan. Senior members of the Japanese delegation from the Embassy of Japan, from JICA and TICAD, Mr. Yano, the Executive Director of Japan and the African Development Bank, members of senior management of the African Development Bank. Good morning to you all, to those in Abidjan and good evening to our friends in Tokyo. Welcome, everyone. I appreciate you all for staying up so late in Tokyo to join us for this event. That shows strong commitment. I wish that we all could have met physically today as we celebrate this exciting partnership between Japan and the African Development Bank Group's African Development Fund. But the COVID-19 pandemic has made that impossible. I would like first and foremost to offer our solidarity with the government of Japan as you address the COVID-19 pandemic and its effects, especially as the second wave of the pandemic poses new challenges. Japan and its people are known for their resilience. I am confident that Japan will recover from this pandemic and continue to grow strongly. I wish to also congratulate the Prime Minister, Yoshihide Suga, on his election as Prime Minister in September of 2020, taking over from former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister and a great friend of Africa. I am confident that Africa will continue to enjoy the same kind of priority and support from His Excellency Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga. I am grateful to my friend, the Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso, Governor of Japan for the African Development Bank Group, for his unflinching support to the African Development Bank Group, and of course, for his support for me personally. I would like to thank and appreciate the government of Japan for his strong support for my re-election as president of the African Development Bank Group, a historic event at which I was elected by 100% of the votes of the regional and non-regional shareholders of the bank. I am most grateful. My commitment to continuing to work closely with the government of Japan is very strong. We have come together a long way, and I'm sure that we will together achieve even greater things for Africa in the years ahead. Japan is a great supporter of the African Development Bank Group, and Japan is a trusted friend and supporter of Africa. We share similar commitments to reducing fragility, promoting private sector, strengthening human capital development, investing in quality infrastructure, and ensuring debt transparency and sustainability, which of course will be my priority in the coming months. The strong support of Japan for the 15th replenishment of the African Development Fund further demonstrated the high level of priority that Japan attaches to the development of low-income and fragile countries in Africa. Japan's ADF 15 subscription of 370 million units of account, or Japanese yen 56.4 billion, which translates into 518 million US dollars, is actually a 6% increase in UA terms over the ADF 14 replenishment. Japan is the 5th largest donor to the African Development Fund. Particularly significant is that Japan is providing a concessional dollar loan of UA 482.89 million. That is Japanese yen 73.6 billion, or in US dollar terms, 676 million. Japan's concessional dollar loan is almost 10% of the total ADF 15 resources of 7.6 billion US dollars. Now, this is a continuation of the leadership role, let me say strong leadership role of Japan in providing concessional loans to the African Development Fund. Japan was the #1 and the largest provider of concessional dollar loan to the African Development Fund 15th replenishment, just like Japan was also under the African Development Fund 14th replenishment. Japan continues to add great value for the overall replenishment cycles of the African Development Fund. I am delighted the government of Japan intends to disburse the entire amount of the ADF 15 concessional donor loan in one tranche by March of 2021. Thank you. This will greatly boost the liquidity of the African Development Fund and allow us to ramp up much needed support to the ADF countries, especially now at this critical time they are struggling to cope with and to recover from COVID-19 pandemic. Africa will recover from this pandemic. The African Development Bank stepped up to support African countries to quickly address this pandemic by launching a $10 billion crisis response facility. We also launched a $3 billion Fight COVID-19 social bond on the global capital markets, the largest ever social bond in world history, which is now listed on the London Stock Exchange, Luxembourg Stock Exchange, and of course on NASDAQ. The African Development Bank Group estimates that the GDP growth in Africa will recover from minus 3.1% in 2020 to 3.4% in 2021. But the speed of recovery from the pandemic in Africa will depend on its rapid and equitable access to vaccines. Africa should not be shortchanged in terms of access to vaccines. Unless we provide universal access to vaccines for everyone, there will not be universal health protection or universal health for all, of course, which we know is being boldly championed by Japan all across the world. I would therefore like to ask for the strong support of the government of Japan for Africa to access the vaccines. I wish to express my appreciation for Japan's support for the Bilateral Trust Fund on Policy and Human Resource Development Grant, which is currently supporting 11 projects with heavy emphasis on knowledge and skills development. As we have just heard from my dear friend, the president of JICA, I am very excited with the partnership between the African Development Bank Group and the Enhanced Private Sector Assistance for Africa, EPSA. I am delighted to have signed with my friend, President Kitaoka of the Japan International Cooperative Agency, JICA, our financing agreement on EPSA 4 during the TCAD 7 in beautiful Yokohama for a joint commitment of $3.5 billion. Working in partnership with JICA, with EPSA, and using the generous concessional donor loans provided now by Japan under ADF 15, the African Development Bank Group will be able to further fast-track support for quality infrastructure while supporting economies to build forward faster and better with climate, health, and economic resilience. As we sign this ADF 15 concessional loan agreement today with the government of Japan, we celebrate the continuation of the strong bonds of friendship, cooperation, and partnership between Japan and the African Development Bank. Of course, I only wish it was possible to have a sake wine with me to celebrate. I've enjoyed taking sake wine ever since it was introduced to me by Deputy Prime Minister Taro Aso. Please inform him that I toasted cheers with a virtual sake. I look forward to the Olympics in Tokyo in the summer and to the Tokyo Nutrition for Growth Summit in December of 2021 to really toast with an original sake. Once again, thank you all very much. Untuni, arigato gozaimasu.
Thank you, Mr. President, for your remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, we're almost at the end of the ceremony. But before we close, we'll have a photo session, which I had earlier said, will be done in 2 phases. The first phase will be a photo of only our 4 signatories, after which we can all join them in the second phase. So could you please align the screens for our 4 signatories to be photographed? Thank you very much for that. Now we'll get to the second phase. Everyone on the screen as a panelist, join in the 4 signatories. Please align those for the second photograph. I beg you to remove my helicopter pilot stuff just for a picture. Thank you.
Ambassador, please remove your headphones so you're a handsome man, so we want to see you full.
Thank you very much for that picture. Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I promised you that we're going to have this ceremony ended on or before 10 a.m. Abidjan time. And then, of course, add 9 hours to that in Japan. You will know exactly what time it is. We have now come to the end of the ceremony. And I wish to thank all of you for your very, very wonderful and kind participation. Thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Thank you, President Kataka. Thank you. Ambassador, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.